OCD Radio, Fighting Back Together, available exclusively at www.youhaveocd.com. Hi and welcome to OCD Radio. I'm your host, Ali Graymond. Today I want to talk to you about false memory OCD. False memory OCD is a very common type of OCD. It's just as common as the pure OCD or the cleaning washing OCD. So if you do have false memory OCD, don't think that you are alone in this. You are definitely not alone. There's a lot of people who are struggling with the same thing. And today we're going to go over some of the pitfalls of false memory OCD and how you can overcome them. So to begin, let's go over what is false memory OCD. False memory is a type of OCD where a person thinks that something may have happened in their past that will have a detrimental effect on their future, but they're not sure if that situation actually took place or not. So what they do is they go over the thought again and again to figure out if the actual feared situation took place or if they're just imagining it. An example of this would be a person driving down the street, and when they get to their destination, they think that, what if I actually hit somebody when I was driving? And they try to go back to the situation and think of all the details of the situation to figure out if they hit somebody or not. This is a very bad thing to do. It's probably the worst thing you can do when it comes to the false memory OCD. Because what happens is the more you go back and try to solve the thought, the more other thoughts you're going to have to go along with it. So in the example, the person's going back in their mind and thinking about the situation. And the more they think about, the more details they remember from the driving. So for example, they will remember, well, there was another car next to me and the driver briefly looked at me and they had a weird look on their face. Maybe they looked at me weird because they saw me hit somebody. And maybe I hit that person that I saw walking down the street because I saw them before but not after, so I don't know where they went, so maybe they hit that person. And it can go on and on with these kind of secondary thoughts. But what can happen in the long run, that these secondary thoughts can span an obsession of their own. And basically you're just digging yourself deeper into the hole when you're doing that, when you're going back into the past. So the first thing you need to do is to stop yourself from going back. No matter how hard it is, no matter how real the situation seems, you have to stop yourself from going back into the thought and trying to figure out if the situation actually took place or not. As a general rule, if you are doubting a thought that happened in the past, then it didn't happen. That's it. If you are doubting a thought and you do have false memory OCD, then it is only false memory OCD. It didn't happen. And you need to be confident in that, and you need to leave it. And you will see that once you leave it, the next day, you will not feel as strongly about this thought. It won't bother you as much. But initially, you need to leave it no matter how you feel. Because with OCD, everything is based on feelings. It's not based on logic, it's based on feelings. So the fact that you have OCD and the fact that you're struggling with it, you can't really rely on your feelings when it comes to OCD. So if you feel like something may have happened, it doesn't mean that it actually did. And you can't outsmart OCD either, because OCD comes from your own brain. You cannot outsmart yourself because you cannot be smarter than yourself. So the more little thoughts that you will have that, well, maybe it didn't happen because of this and that, OCD will bring a thought saying, well, maybe it did happen because of that and the other thing. So it will be a never-ending circle, and you don't want to go down that route. The way to stop a thought is to completely ignore it. No matter how hard it is, no matter how bad you're feeling, it doesn't matter. Your feelings are not important. What's important is you are doubting the thought and you have false memory OCD. The thought is bringing you anxiety. That means it didn't happen. And just leave it at that. And I'm telling you, you leave it for one day, the next day you will feel better. When will the thought go away will largely depend on how long you've been ruminating on the thought and going over it in your mind. So if you've been going over a thought in your mind for two or 3 days, it will take probably a day and a half to get over it. It's usually about half the time of the original thought and rumination that it takes to get over it. So if you follow a bad pattern of rumination for a period of time, it will take half of that to get over it, as long as you're stopping the rumination and stop going over it. With false memory, the number one thing you need to do is to stop going back into the past and trying to figure out the situation. Because every time you do go back into the past, what you're doing is you're telling your mind, this situation is dangerous. This scenario is dangerous. I need to be protected from this scenario at all times. So what's going to happen is that your mind is going to send you more of these thoughts. This is not at all different from when you are crossing the street and your mind is automatically looking for cars. Because you've been reinforcing throughout your whole life that crossing the street is dangerous. You need to be on the lookout for cars. Now you're telling your mind that these situations are dangerous and it needs to be on the lookout for that. So, of course, your mind is going to send you more of these thoughts, and they're going to be severe, and you're going to be going around the circle again and again. But if you don't react to these thoughts, what's going to happen is that your mind is going to understand that, this thought is not dangerous. These situations are not important. And it's going to stop sending you them. So even though you feel out of control when you get these OCD thoughts, you're actually very much in control. You control if the next thought is going to come and the severity with which it will come by what you're doing today. So your actions are dictating what's going to happen in the future. If, for example, so far you've been choosing to react to these thoughts with fear and to go back into the past and try to solve them, then your mind's going to be sending you more of these thoughts. But if from now on you choose to not react to them, your mind will start sending you less and less of them. It will still send you some because you've been doing this pattern for a while. So this will not fix itself over the course of one day, obviously. But it will fix itself quickly as long as you're very diligent about not going back and trying to solve it. The speed of your recovery, just like I say in all the other shows, the speed of your recovery depends on you. It depends on how much you're willing to work on this, how much effort you want to put towards this. So the more times you reinforce the right habits, the more times you reinforce to your mind that this thought is irrelevant by not reacting to it, the faster you will recover. Most types of OCD have reassurance seeking component to them. So the person will try to seek reassurance in different ways to make sure that they're safe. With false memory OCD, they will seek reassurance either from themselves by what we talked about earlier, by going back into the past, or from others. So maybe if, in the example earlier, somebody was with that person in the car, the OCD sufferer will ask that other person, did you see something happen? A lot of the time, just to ease their mind. And there is no difference between actually going out of their way and asking the person or going back into their mind. Either way, it's reassurance, and either way, it's detrimental to their progress. Another way, for example, in the example earlier, is the person might watch the news to see if there was an actual hit and run in the area of, where they were and what they're worried about. This is just an example earlier. This could vary depending on your OCD. But the reassurance component is always there, and you need to stop yourself from doing the reassurance. Another component that OCD has is the fear component, and I also wanted to talk to you about it. Whenever you get an OCD thought, the only reason why the thought is hanging around for hours, minutes, days, whatever it is for you, is because of the fear. So your fear is what's holding it there. If you lose the fear, the thought will go away. And the way to lose the fear is to realize that it's an OCD thought. Because that's the difference. If, in the example earlier, you think that you hit somebody and it's real, yeah, you would have a lot of fear, obviously. But if you think that you hit somebody, but you know that it's an OCD thought, your fear is diminished. And the thought will go away because, in fact, it is a false memory thought. Nothing actually happened. But you need to know that nothing happened, not through reassurance seeking, but through practice and knowing that it's an OCD thought based on the fact that you're doubting it, based on the fact that it's giving you anxiety, based on the fact that you've had many of these similar thoughts in the past. So this is nothing new. As soon as you lose the fear, the thought will go away. And you know this from, if you think back to your last OCD thoughts that are now unimportant to you. Why are they unimportant to you? It's because you don't fear them anymore, because you are now focused on this particular thought. Those are irrelevant. You lost the fear, the thought became unimportant. But think how important it was when you actually had this thought and how much anxiety it caused you and how much fear you felt. But now you no longer feel fear and you don't really care about that thought anymore. You need to do this every time, and the sooner you stop the fear reaction, the faster the thought will go away. So if you are having an OCD thought and you're thinking, what can I do to make it go away? You need to stop the fear. And how do you stop the fear? You stop the doubt. If you're doubting it, don't go back to the situation. Don't think about it. Just realize that it is a false memory OCD based on the fact that you're doubting it, and leave it at that. So your recovery is basically repetition. You need to start repeating the right pattern. So if you've been repeating the wrong pattern for whatever time that you've had OCD, months, days, years, whatever it is, you need to start repeating the right pattern. And the more times you repeat the right pattern, the more you will prove to your brain that these thoughts are not actually relevant, these thoughts are not actually dangerous, and you don't need to send me more of these thoughts. And once the brain, in a sense, understands this, it will stop sending you more of these type of thoughts. This is what I work on with people in the You Have OCD recovery program. They contact me a lot of the times, every day, every other day, and we make sure that every time they have a thought, they react correctly. And that is why the You Have OCD recovery program is so effective, because with the other therapies and doctors, you only see the doctor once a week. So by the time you've seen them, you've already reacted incorrectly 3 or 4 times probably by the time you saw the doctor. And yet the doctor tells you the right things to do and all of that, but it's just simply not enough. You need to have constant support until you can do it on your own, until these patterns are set and you are able to progress on your own. But initially, you need constant contact with your doctor, therapist, whatever it is. And this is where the You Have OCD recovery program comes in. And this is why it's so great that it helps you recover. And the other thing is, I have been through it myself. I have had OCD and I have recovered. So I can tell exactly what the person is going through, unlike other doctors who can't. And this is why a lot of my patients tell me that they've been to many doctors, they've been to hypnosis, they've been to other stuff, and nothing has helped because the doctor really doesn't understand it. They spent, a day or two in the medical school going over this particular disorder among many other disorders and conditions that they've learned about. So they know very limited information about it, and they're just going by the book. And a lot of the times nowadays they're just prescribing medication, and it's very sad, and the person is not recovering, and all they're doing is wasting their time while making their OCD worse by doing these bad patterns of reassurance seeking and fear-based reactions. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at info@youhaveocd.com. Also, if you're interested in signing up for the You Have OCD recovery program, you can do so through the website at www.youhaveocd.com. Just fill out the form on the right. And as soon as you fill out the form and make the payment, we can do the first session. All the sessions are done with me and only with me. Everything said in the session stays private and confidential. And the sessions can be done through Skype, through phone, depending on what's best for you. Some people choose email or chat. It just depends on your personal preference. So thank you for listening. If you have questions, email me, and have a great day.